Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we are going to take a side-by-side look at some Rowney watercolor paper. The other day I got this in the mail and I did a haul video. This is the original classic watercolor sketchbook by Cachet by Rowney, and it is made with Aquafine paper. I don't know if they make this sketchbook with other grades of paper in it or not, but this was on sale at Jerry's Artorama for $12, and it also came with a Simply Simmons white sable, which is a synthetic brush, a number 3 round, and some Langton Prestige ATCs. And these are 100% cotton, these ATCs, and I'm just gonna do a little demo showing you these cotton ATCs versus the paper in the Cachet sketchbook here. And so this is the first thing I did. I was just kind of, these are all just little doodles I did. We had power loss today, and so I was messing around with my book. I did this the other day actually. Just kind of been a very low-key, relaxing vacation week with the kids home from school, so I've just been kind of chilling out. And you know, this is 140-pound paper. It does buckle. It is 100% cellulose. The only thing I really don't like about this paper is that it's got kind of like a tire track appearance, like the texture on this book. It reminds me an awful lot of, I don't know if you can see that texture. It reminds me an awful lot of the Strathmore 300 series, the Strathmore paper that has the yellow cover. That's very much like this paper, if you're curious. This is the back side of the paper I painted on because I figured as a sketchbook you'd want to try both sides to see, you should be able to use both sides. I did find the back side of the paper to be a little bit less responsive, maybe a little less sized. I didn't find my paint flowed quite as well on the back side, and my paint looked a little more dull. I also went ahead, because those were done with the Lucas watercolors, I also went ahead and used some Schmincke and Core watercolors just so I could make sure that it wasn't a dullness of that paint because I'm not that used to using it. That's what we're going to use today. So the negatives of this sketchbook would be the fact that it's cellulose, you know, as opposed to cotton, and the paper will break down a bit. You can see that I've got some little pilling over here where actually that might be a bit of pigment, but I did get a little bit of pilling on the face where I tried to lift up some paper, and there I just lifted it up from that wash. You can't use a real stiff brush on this for lifting. If you do like a soft brush, you're fine, but a stiff brush is going to pill the paper and give you a little bit of trouble. I did find that my results with the 140-pound cotton paper to be much more vivid, they seemed, and the paper does seem to be a little bit whiter. So that was just kind of like apples to apples comparison there. But for the price and how you're going to use a sketchbook, typically if I'm going to use a sketchbook, I'm doing quick sketches and I am using it on the go. A lot of times I'm using like a waterproof pen to sketch and I'm just doing a quick wash of watercolor. This is perfect for that. This is definitely going to be able to handle that, and you can paint on both sides of the paper without it showing through with watercolors, and really that's what I bought the sketchbook for, so it is meeting my expectations and is worth the price I paid, I do believe. But I want to show you a little side-by-side comparison. I love the Langton Prestige paper so much. If I'm going to keep my eyes on it, my eyes peeled for a sale, because I think that I would really love to have some larger sheets of this. So we're gonna just do a little simple rows. We're gonna do the same thing side by side. I've got my Langton there, and I've got my watercolor here by these are both by Rowney. This is the Aquafine and this is a Langton, and the Langton, very similar surface on both sides. I'm using the side that's slightly more textured, and I'm using the front side of this paper. I'm so sorry I'm going so, I don't know why I'm talking so fast. I think it's because I'm like, the water pump is going to come on, the furnace, or the water pump's going to come on any second. I'm going to use a water brush just to keep things simple, and I'm going to start off by, I'm just going to use some water here. I want to show you the flow of the paper. I'm starting off with the Langton Prestige, and I'm just going to start off just by putting in kind of some petals with just water, okay? So if I tip that to the light, you could see that I've kind of got like a little rose there. Now, some people asked about the brush, so what I'm going to do is just squeeze a little bit of water onto my my palette there, and then I'll just use this brush to pick up a little bit of crimson here. And we'll just look at it flow. Look at the colors flow. They flow very nice on this paper. I think I'll also put a little bit of yellow in there. I'm just going to do it with a water brush because I don't have a water bucket down here. I'm kind of like going between my studios at this point in time, between my office and my downstairs studio. I really prefer to film down here, but it's so noisy in the winter. But I like the lighting down here better. So, you know, first world problems, right? Alright, so there I've got this little a very simple little rose sketched in here. Just get the colors in. I also want to put a couple of petals. I'm just going to squeeze out my brush and wipe off the excess. And let's do a few little water leaf. Water leaf? What's a water leaf? I don't know. I haven't talked in front of the camera for a long time, apparently. And I'll put some of this green gold in there. These are Lucas watercolors. Over this other green. And I think I'll do a little Indithrone blue, which is a color I'm really liking. And you can see very lovely flow in here. I kind of like it when it just, I'm just going to like let it go, just kind of loosey-goosey. Just a very simple demonstration here. Let's do the same thing on the Aquafine paper. So we're going to start off just by making our little imaginary flower. Probably can see my strokes a little bit better here because I've got a little bit of tint of blue in my water. And well, let's do what I did before. I used the Robert Simmons brush. This brush is fine. It's certainly not my, I don't know, it's fine. It's not knocking my socks off, but it comes to a nice point. I think these are fairly affordable. This was a free sample with the sketchbook. Gives you a great point. It's I think these are fairly affordable, but they do behave more like a synthetic. I wouldn't think they're called a white sable, but they don't, to me, feel like a sable brush. You know, I like the Mimics an awful lot. The Mimic Linsky and the Mimic Squirrel brushes are kind of my favorite, but these aren't bad. They're definitely going to be appropriate for watercolor, and I think they would probably be fine for acrylics as well. I'm going to grab a little bit of that same yellow. Whoops, what yellow did I use? I'm not sure. Doesn't really matter too much. Just want to give you a little side-by-side comparison. Now you can see, as the paint kind of settles into the tractor marks, it just reminds me of like a toy truck mark, the texture of the paper. You can kind of see that a little bit more, but I do find like if that it does kind of go away. You don't notice it so much as it dries, so if that's kind of dissuading you from trying that paper, I wouldn't let it, especially if you get a good deal on it. But it's definitely, I wouldn't use the Aquafine paper anytime you're going to want to be putting a lot of time and effort into something, or anytime you think you're going to have to scrub back or do anything like that, just because it's not gonna take that much abuse. Okay, you just need to know what the limitations of your paper are. I'm gonna grab a little bit of that Indithrone blue and phthalo green, and add that in there, and there. I mean, definitely suitable for a sketchbook. You can't really beat the price. I do like how my colors behave a little bit better on that versus the Aquafine, but that's, you know, use the right paper for the job. I'm sure that's a lot more expensive if I was to get a sketchbook of that versus the Aquafine. And I'll just do, I don't really want to put a background in there yet, but I do want to just kind of show you how it accepts a wash, because I know it's going to blend quite a bit. I love this cobalt blue. It accepts a wash very well. And here you can see on this one that it also accepts a wash well on the Aquafine. I mean, I'm sorry, the Langton. Bottom line, I like the Langton an awful lot. It reminds me quite a bit of Arches, and actually it reminds me more of Arches than like Fabriano Artistico, but they're all great papers. I would say if you find a great deal on it, go for either one of them. Keep in mind just that the Aquafine paper is not gonna be as resilient and durable as the 100% cotton paper, which you can scrub back a little bit more. So there you have it. If you'd like to see a review on the Lucas watercolors that I used here, just let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I do also want to apologize for canceling my live show on Friday because I had no power, but the power's back, and I'm back to being somewhat productive. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy crafting.